Hi, it's so lovely to be here and to have had a chance to chat with some of you already. It's a real privilege to meet all of you. Yeah, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I was going to introduce myself, but I have no need to now. I think that covers everything. Yeah, and I'm always happiest when in a room full of change makers. So it's really lovely to be in this room with you. I am, yeah, I was going to talk to you a little bit today actually about so I'll talk for maybe about 20 minutes, and then I'd much rather have an interactive discussion and questions and answers because I wear so many hats in the space. I just don't know whichever one resonates with you most. I was going to speak to you first and share a little presentation about Planetary because that's Earth-led. That's the little company I've formed. Well, it's actually this. We're trying to get it to scale globally around Earth-led education. So shall I start there and then see how we go. Just the impetus for this. With thanks again to Julie for that fantastic introduction. But I kind of was born into a change-making family, and very luckily, I think, because I was never trained to see the world through the lens of this system works, business as usual works. I come from an activist family, and I've kind of spent most of my adult life working in different points of systems change in business, in government, in yeah, with NGOs. But I found I'm a creative now in my my bones. I'm a storyteller. I'm a creative. But I found it was just so shocking when you're getting people at 30, 35, 40, 50 who have never encountered the story of what's happening on planet Earth. And um, I just find, and it's no fault of their own. It's how they're educated. Is what what our system values most. What's taught in our schools, and I feel so bad for them because they're waking up and just saying, no, why weren't we taught this? Why didn't we know? And this is over a period of years. When Julie mentioned I did a master's. When I did that master's, my thesis was called Talking to Tomorrow, because I went into schools and talked to children and found out what messages they were receiving about climate, how that made them feel. And I just thought we can't afford to have another generation of humans who are waking up at 35, 40, 50 years old and find, getting some sense that our economic systems, most of our business systems are designed to extract and to exploit rather than to regenerate. And so I've been, for a lot of my life, I've been Trojan horsing this programs to educate children into my other work, like with the Blue Marine Foundation or the Cambridge Science Centre. But I finally said, time's up. We just have to, I just now have to found an organisation that does what it says on the tin, that is all about pioneering Earth-led education, because it's not fair for children growing up today either. They're brilliant, they land eco-literate. It's often our system that takes that out of them, and they need to be equipped to understand what's happening, but also in a positive way, because we are leaving it terribly late. But if there's still this window for us, if we're properly equipped and we shift our thinking, that there are things that we can still, that we can do. So that's the impetus for founding Planetary. And it's very much the idea behind. I will show you the presentation around Planetary, but I won't take a long time on it. But that's the impetus behind Bright New World as well. The book um, is set in 12 sections. So you've got these things: energy, food, transport, our oceans, our rainforests, our how we design our cities, how we educate women. These are the biggest push, the biggest problems now for our Earth systems, our planetary boundaries. But we need to travel, we need food, we need energy. Our carbon sinks essential. So they have huge potential to shift from being part of the problem to being part of the solution. So that's why the book, I've got it somewhere. That's how the book. Oh, you can't see it because I've got my background on. Oh, I'll turn that. Oh, I'll leave it because I'll show you pictures of the book as we go in the presentation. But the book, it steps into the future just a little bit in each of those sections, and it says, look, like a beautiful spread of the oceans, part of which you can see behind me. And it says, hey, look, we made it. This is what our oceans look like now. They're alive. And then it talks about, oh, do you remember that scare when we almost did these stupid things that took us, to a very difficult place. And then it says, well, how did we get here? So the children have already seen that they can step into this fantastic world, that it is possible. And then we look, so they've got that assurance and that hope. And then we look at, okay, so what happened there? What were we doing? And then it looks at where we are now, but then it brings in all the incredible innovations and solutions that we have. Some of them are natural solutions. Some of them are, are shifting how we design the way we live on planet Earth, our fuel, our energy, our transport, as I've said. But they're all completely and utterly real. I haven't made a thing up. This is based on what people are doing now, the science that already exists, what bring in lots of young entrepreneurs to showcase their work, and then we build a roadmap really from where we are now, using these solutions to get to this bright new world. And so it really leads with positivity and hope, because I think that's so important for young people to have, have something to believe in. And it is all entirely possible. The most difficult thing in the book is the last chapter, or the last section, which is thinking differently. If we can solve that, all the other things fall into place. So that's where if I can share my screen, Julie, actually I can you see my screen now?
We can, thank you.
Brilliant. I'll just give me a second. I mean, I'm never good at doing this because I've got this bar on the top. Okay, so slideshow. Play that from the start. So that's where Planetary comes in to really look at how we can shift the way that we think from our earliest landing here on planet Earth. So we're developing this Earth-led education and entertainment company, because it's also about it's not it's yes the biggest part of this transformation, this systems transformation, is going to be how we educate ourselves, and also what stories are at the root of our dreams, how we allow ourselves to imagine the food for our brains, for our minds, for our souls. And I think there's so much fantastic stuff out there. Children are used to really high production values in their toys and their video games and their cinema, but often the messaging is quite dark and destructive. So we're looking at the entertainment world as well, so that that food for our dreams is not about destroying and colonizing and extracting. It's about collaborating and caring and sharing and working together. I won't spend long on this because I'd far rather spend the time speaking with you all. But this is it's interdisciplinary. It works across the topics. And no, Julie was very kind to mention this in the introduction. We're doing quite well in gaining the space of thought leadership. It's quite hard to push against a system that doesn't want it to change. So that kind of recognition really helps. When I mentioned the book, these are the 12 sections in the book that we've identified as the kind of core curriculum areas, because you can teach literacy, you can teach history, you can teach art using all of these as core topics, and you can cycle through them at any age, from the earliest learning, earliest years, all the way through to high school. And then around that curriculum, it's not just what you know, it's how you apply that knowledge. So each of these sections comes with these mindfulness workshops. And then around the mindfulness workshop, you will look at these a little bit, in a tiny bit, what we're calling make. So these really hands-on ways of exploring our blue lung and our green lung, our oceans and our rainforests. And then around that, this imagination zone where we're creating novels, stories, games, animation, so children play in the space of eco-literacy and stories about regenerating Earth. So those are the core curriculum areas that's everything that we have at the moment. That's the book I've just spoken about. It's been really well received. That's the encouraging thing. It is actually quite hard to get things out there, because you're pushing against a system that doesn't really want it at a ground level, community level. Yes, people really want this, but at the hardest thing to get this into schools is getting a mandate. Unless the government creates a space for it, or governments do. I don't know how Bright New World on the Australian national curriculum, but that's been amazing. But a lot of they say, oh, we can't have that because we've got to pass the exams, we've got to teach to test. So it's very hard to get them into the space. But once they're in, they're incredibly well received. I've mentioned the core topic areas that we're developing, these mindfulness workshops. We're building a little channel, a little YouTube channel. Where this is where the children really get a sense of themselves as agents. So this picture here is he's a chap from the Blue Marine Foundation. So he's actually in the Maldives on a coral reef, and so he's giving them a lesson directly from the reef. So you get that immediacy. In this picture here, the little children have gone to in England. That's Ben Fogle. He's a well-known environmental action man, and so they've gone to interview him. So that is the children get the sense of their own agency, that they're out there shaping and being part of, engaging with these people. So they're preparing themselves to be not only informed, but to take an active role in shaping the world that they're going to be part of co-creating. I talked about these magazines. This is trying to make it as these are adventures. It's not so much of this stuff comes with a package of gloom and doom and difficulty, but we're inviting children to take this adventure. I say to them, this is a very exciting time to be alive, because who else gets to learn how to fly a small planet? So with the ocean magazines, things pop out, things pull out. They get to, they learn how the oceans, how to protect the oceans, and then it is packed with. I haven't got any pictures of this actually, but it's packed with all sorts of activity that they can then do to get a much more hands-on feel of how to, of what those things actually look like. So they're learning in the more traditional classroom domain, but they can step out of that and make and create and build things in the in that embodied learning domain as well. And then this is just a little bit of the stories. As you know, this is my superpower. I'm sure we all have one. I'm a storyteller. So Star Riders, my agent is calling that the eco Harry Potter. So the children have this wonderful adventure, which as they go through it, they learn what's gone wrong with our systems. They learn how to fix them up. The crystal mirror is more of an internal journey, because I think there's so much pressure on young people now to compete, physically, mentally with the social media. It's almost like it's colonizing their selves. And so the Crystal Mirror is a book about power. The most powerful thing on our earth is is a children's imagination. So the baddies of the book are trying to come to get that, and the Crystal Mirror teaches them how to keep it and reflect it back into themselves, and to join forces with other children, and to create this incredible force field, the power of the imagination to create the kind of world that they want for themselves. Yeah. And then this is one of the loves of my life has been Dr. Seuss, as you'll probably know, because he's an American, and the problem he wanted to solve in America was literacy. America wasn't reading, and so or the literacy levels were low in the 50s, and so he created these incredibly wacky, wild, fun, zany adventures. So kids were learning how to read without even knowing that they were doing it. So I'm trying to create the same feeling for learning how to take care of our planet. You go in these get away from these doom and gloom scenarios, let's enter into the zone of fun, learn as much, and have fun learning. So there's a whole different sets of series for differentiated by age. Some are cautionary tales, which are slightly darker stories about adults who do ghastly things and meet a fitting end. Or you're probably familiar with If I Ran the Zoo or If I Ran the Circus. So we've created the series If We Ran the Planet or If We Ran the Ocean. These are kids standing up and saying for themselves what they would do if they had this power, and they've come up with absolutely fantastic things. This is a series called Rainbow Warriors. So each character has a particular color and a fantastic power. The green genie who flies them around the world on a magic green carpet and teaches them how to rewild Earth, or the blue kazoo, a little boy who finds a kazoo in the back of his drawer, an old kazoo on a rainy day, and he starts to play it. And a pool opens up, and he goes down into the pool, and he meets all the fantastic creatures of the ocean. And they tell him, "You've got to go and speak for us." And he does, and goes to the World Leadership Conference, and he turns everybody into fish. And then once they've been fish, then they can think differently. And so they decide that yes, the oceans are worth protecting. And it goes on, like there's a whole series of those kind of things. And then this is one for slightly younger children called Wonder Workers, where we look at these tiny little creatures that do these huge, big jobs like coral, little teeny corals who hold down the whole reef system, or worms. The kids are sent to interview this Sir Worm, and they're like, why are you a sir? You know, with respect, you don't do anything. You just grub around in the dirt. Like, how did you get your knighthood? And then he's really humble, but he tells them, he starts to explain what his job is, and by the time he's finished, they're like, "Oh my god, he's a legend." No wonder he's got us. So we have really good fun with it. This is a little animation series for very young children, and that little girl, that's Napoleon, and that's her best friend who's a bear, but he lives a rabbit suit because he can't quite cope with what's going on. So it's kind of, allowing children to see their own, what might, their own concerns reflected. So the little girl, she gets angry about things, and then Pinky gets upset that what's happening to the tigers or the rainforest. And then he gets upset and he goes to sleep in his rabbit suit. And then he dreams how to fix these things, and then when they wake up, they actually do what he's dreamt, with their friends that live all over the world. And so, it just shows that these things are fixable, and it's okay to be upset about it, but there are things that we can do about it. So that's a very whistle-stop tour through this ecosystem that we're trying to build in the realm of classroom education, but also in the realm of imagination. As I said, it gets received really well when we get it out there, but it is quite hard to do that because you're pushing against a system that doesn't really understand that it does need to change. But what as the great thing is, once we've got something over the line, the response to it makes it easier to get the next thing and the next thing. So hopefully we'll build enough momentum to create. And I'm not. Yeah, this is planetary, but by doing this work, I'm connecting with an ecosystem of other people that are doing similar things in different parts of the world. So that's just yeah, that's so that gives me even more hope, and being invited into rooms with people like you that who understand the value of what we're trying to do, and how we can shift our education system, our dream system, if you like, to support this way of understanding our world and how to live in balance with it. Yeah. So whether you want to be an astrophysicist or a hairdresser, you know how to do it within the planetary boundaries. Yeah, that's probably all I'd like to say for now, and I'd love to have questions and discussions with you all. Yeah.